This is Nightline and I'm Muhammed Ahmad Hamdan, news making the headlines. No further COVID-19 testing required after completing quarantine. And Education Ministry to provide lockers to address heavy school bags issue. Good morning. We'll start with our headlining story. Individuals who have been infected with COVID-19 have completed quarantine do not need to undergo repeated tests to ensure that there is no more virus in the body. Health Director General Chancellor Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah said this was because tests such as real-time reverse transcription polymerase chain reaction (RT-PCR) were very sensitive and would detect the genetic presence of the virus. In a statement, Tan Sri Hisham said that RT-PCR is very sensitive and will detect the presence of the genetic in the respiratory tract within 2 to 3 months after infection, for example, during the period of viral shedding. However, the virus is no longer able to reproduce, and individuals infected with COVID-19 are unlikely to be able to spread the infection to others. RT antigen testing can usually detect infection on the 3rd to 7th day, after a person is exposed to COVID-19 patients, while RT-PCR can detect infection as early as the 2nd to 14th day after infection. Thus, the accuracy of RT-KAG and RT-PCR tests depends on the duration of infection at the time the sample was taken. RT-KAG, approved for use in the country, must have at least 95% sensitivity rate and 95% specificity rate. Therefore, there is 5% chance of a false positive or false negative. False positive occurs when the kit gives a positive result for an uninfected individual, while false negative occurs when the kit is unable to detect the presence of antigen in a patient infected with COVID-19. It may be due to incorrect sampling technique and the time the sample was taken outside the period of infection. Meanwhile, the Health Ministry will begin offering the CoronaVac suspension for injection COVID-19 vaccine Virocell inactivated produced by Sinovac from Monday under the COVID-19 National Immunization Program for Children (PIC Kits. Deputy Health Minister Dr. Nur Azmi Ghazali said the Sinovac-made vaccine will be offered at selected vaccination centres. In a statement, Dr. Nur Azmi said children who cannot receive the Pfizer vaccine for health reasons will instead be offered the CoronaVac vaccine. Parents will also be given the option to opt for the CoronaVac vaccine for their children if they do not agree to the Comirnaty vaccine. He said parents may refer to the list of vaccination centres which offer the CoronaVac vaccine via walk-in at the Health Ministry and PH Corp websites. According to him, 2 doses of the CoronaVac vaccine will be administered with a 4-week interval in order to obtain a fully vaccinated status. The Sinovac-made COVID-19 vaccine was approved for administration to children aged 5 to 11 earlier this month. According to the COVID Now website, as of March 5th, a total of 123,053 of children aged 12 and below have been infected with the virus. Now, lockers will be installed for pupils at double-session primary schools to store their textbooks so that pupils do not have to carry heavy bags to schools daily. Senior Education Minister Dr. Razzie Jilin said the move is part of the 7 new initiatives to ease the long-standing problem of pupils carrying heavy bags to school.
Banyak perbincangan di luar sana berkaitan dengan penyediaan loker di sekolah. Dan KPM telah memperincikan perkara ini dan telah membuat ketetapan bahawa kita akan menyediakan loker untuk murid tahap 1, iaitu murid tahun 1, tahun 2 dan tahun 3 di sekolah yang mempunyai 2 sesi.
In a video posting on Facebook on Sunday, he also said pupils in single-session schools will be allowed to store their textbooks in their classroom desk drawers. Other measures taken to solve the issue of heavy school bags include to reorganize timetables to only 3 to 4 subjects a day and giving schools the flexibility to provide a timetable according to a weekly rotational system. Dr. Radzi said the weekly timetable rotational system will be able to lessen the number of textbooks and activity books brought by pupils to school daily. He also said his ministry will form a task force to monitor the implementation of these 7 initiatives. He added that the ministry will also continue to increase close cooperation with parents and guardians on solving the issue. 4 community colleges in Johor will have permanent campuses as approved in the 12th Malaysia Plan 12MP. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said in the 12MP, the government had identified technical and vocational education and training, or TVET, as one of the drivers of change, especially to meet the industry's demand for labour.
Buktinya, kadar kebolehpasaran graduan TVET pada tahun 2020 ialah 87%, iaitu melebihi daripada kadar kebolehpasaran graduan di peringkat nasional yang direkodkan sebagai 84.4%. Secara khususnya, kadar kebolehpasaran graduan kolej komuniti pada tahun yang sama ialah 94.2%. Nilai ini adalah yang paling tinggi antara institut latihan kemahiran awam yang kita ada di Malaysia.
The Prime Minister said that as such, the government has allocated 6.6 billion ringgit to implement various initiatives under the relevant ministries and agencies, including Department of Polytechnic Education and Community College Education, or JPPKK, under the Higher Education Ministry. For 2022, the government has allocated 25 million ringgit to JPPKK to implement the TVET training programs. He said for Johor, the community colleges involved are College Community Bandar Tenggara, College Community Pagoh, College Community Parit Sulong and College Community Simpang Renggam. All these projects involve a cost or allocation ceiling of about 61.2 million ringgit. The Prime Minister added that the government is very committed to empowering the local community through the TVET agenda, which is a manifestation of the government's efforts to help improve the living standards of Keluarga Malaysia. Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri said this in his speech at the launch of the college community at Pontian at the Muafakat Complex Simpang Pinggan, Benut on Sunday. Also present were Johor Menteri Besar Datuk Hasni Muhammed and Higher Education Minister Datuk Seri Noraini Ahmad. The college community at Pontian is the second satellite college established in Johor after the college community at Parit Sulong. Meanwhile, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri also launched the Jamin Kerja Keluarga Malaysia Career Carnival in Pontian on Sunday, which offers more than 5,000 job vacancies. The Career Carnival was held as an effort by the social security organisation SOCSO to offer employment opportunities directly to the public, especially in the Pontian district and the surrounding areas. Prior to this, the Career Carnival was held in Johor Bahru on March 5th and in Mersing on Saturday. Among the positions offered by employers participating in the program are engineers, technicians, surveyors, cooks, accountants and marketing managers, clerks and apprentices. SOCSO in a statement said the program was part of the Jamin Kerja Wage Incentive JKIP initiative, one of the 3 components under the Jamin Kerja Keluarga Malaysia initiative announced by the government in the 2022 budget. According to SOCSO, for the Jaminan Kerja Wage Incentive, an allocation of 2 billion ringgit has been provided in 2022, with the government hoping the effort will create 300,000 jobs. Moving on, police do not allow any face-to-face debate to be conducted by any party during the Johor state election campaign. State Police Chief Datuk Kamarul Zaman Mamat said this was to avoid any unpleasant situation which could disturb the peace.
Sebab secara berdepan kita tak benarkan lah. Okay? Tolong faham keadaan. Kita tak nak keadaan sekarang ni dah okey, dah tenang dan sebagainya, masing-masing boleh berkempen. Semua parti politik, semua yang nak berkempen boleh berkempen dengan aman. Jadi kita tak nak ada satu perkara yang boleh memecahkan keamanan yang menyebabkan rosak habis, tak boleh berkempen. So, lebih baik.
He was asked to comment on the planned debate between MCA and DAP leaders, which is not permitted by police. The The debate, involving MCA President Datuk Sri Wee Ka Siong and DAP Secretary General Lim Guan Eng, which had been scheduled for Sunday at the Johor Bahru Tionghoa Association Hall to discuss the issues involving a school, was cancelled as it was not permitted by police. Datuk Kamarul Zaman said so far police only allowed ceramah or talks to be held after getting the permits from police. He said police had issued 1,411 permits for ceramah and campaigning since the nomination day until yesterday, and that only 6 applications were rejected due to factors such as overlapping of time and close proximity between the venues. Meanwhile, the Health Ministry has recommended to the Election Commission to give flexibility for those giving ceramah or political talks during the campaign for the Johor state election to not have to wear the face mask when giving the talk. However, its Minister Khairi Jamaluddin said the relaxation on the wearing of the mask would only be allowed with compliance to other standard operating procedures, including physical distancing. Khairi said the matter has been discussed with the Health Ministry's Disease Control Division, and it was found that if there is suitable physical distancing, only the speaker who is giving the talk is allowed to remove the face mask, and that this recommendation has been submitted to the EC. He was commenting on whether the existing SOP for campaign activities in the Johor state election would be relaxed, considering many people had been compounded for breaching the SOP. Based on the SOP by the EC, ceramah, lectures and campaign activities for the Johor polls can be held up to midnight from only 10 p.m. previously. Apart from the extension of campaign time, the EC has also allowed physical campaign activities to be organised at or in the compound of party headquarters and operation rooms. However, the number of attendees, including the organisers, speakers and participants, must not exceed 100 or 50% of the space capacity and are all required to observe physical distancing and wear the mask. Polling day for the Johor state election is on March 12th, while early voting is on March 8th. The Election Commission EC advised all involved in the Johor election to comply with instructions, including the Standard Operating Procedure SOP that have been outlined. Johor EC Director Nornik Manjaimon explained that there is no question of preference in the enforcement of related laws because the election enforcement team consists of representatives of all those involved in the polls and the candidates.
Jadi pasukan penguasa kempen pilihan raya ini merupakan satu pasukan yang seimbang, sama ada dari segi pihak kerajaan maupun yang bertanding. Dan dalam mereka melaksanakan penguatkuasaan tersebut, yang uniknya sebelum mereka membuat suatu keputusan hendaklah dibuat secara bersama di kalangan anggota pasukan penguasa berkenaan, yang termasuk juga wakil calon atau parti politik yang bertanding tadi. Jadi sebenarnya tak timbullah isu penguasaan ini berpihak kepada parti kerajaan ataupun sebaliknya.
He said this in response to dissatisfaction among the opposition, who claimed that the enforcement of the SOP in the Johor election was unfair and took the approach of punishing the opposition. After the break, diesel smuggling attempt worth over 150,000 ringgit foiled. witnessed a switch in the working trend amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. Freelancing or gig work has emerged as one of the preferred modes of earning income. However, despite the growth of the gig economy in Malaysia, there are some concerns as this type of jobs does not provide a fixed monthly income or career growth compared to traditional employment. Alif Yunus reports.
According to the Department of Statistics Malaysia, DOSM, in 2020, there were about 4 million full-time freelance workers in the country, which is more than a quarter of the Malaysian labour force, and the figure is expected to grow further with the current upsurge in digital platform services. With the growing popularity of the gig economy, many quarters have started to weigh in on the pros and cons of going freelance. For National Career Development Centre Association, NACDA Malaysia President Bakhtiar Hasnan, gig work is an opportunity for individuals to build a solid portfolio and a good platform for people to upskill themselves.
I think in terms of professional development for career, I think that can be done if you work on high-end kind of gig work. So that will create a certain opportunity for a person to build their portfolio, and with this portfolio, they are able to, in a way, continue their career development in a certain niche area in the future.
He also said that many gig workers are from the younger generation who are technology savvy, as people who lost their job due to the pandemic are turning to digital platforms to make a living. Being self-employed also means greater flexibility and autonomy, allowing better work-life balance for gig workers. Nevertheless, Malaysian Employees Federation, MEF Executive Director Datuk Samsudin Bardan pointed out, while freelancing in Malaysia has been incredibly empowering as of late, there are several things that need to be considered.
Scammers are, of course, one of the major problems faced by freelancers, especially when they have to put certain amount of money in order to secure the job.
He said that it is important for gig workers to sign an agreement with the company they applied for that establishes the work, fees and the time as well as mode of payment before they proceed with the job. He also warned freelancers to secure themselves with insurances and have a stable financial management, as one of the biggest challenges in freelancing is ensuring there are enough jobs lined up to generate the cash flow. Fresh graduates who work in the gig economy may also end up falling into a career trap and not be able to secure better paying permanent employment. Another downside is gig workers are not accorded the same rights and privileges enjoyed by formal employees, such as health benefits and pension contributions, although efforts by the government are underway to provide them better protection and formal recognition under Malaysian labour laws. In spite of all this, the fact remains that giggers are here to stay and the booming gig economy will continue to grow in the years to come. Nowadays, a growing number of people are choosing to avoid the 9-to-5 routine, choosing instead to work on demand for companies that employ them on a freelance or independent contractor basis. Thanks to technology, today's workers can undertake freelance work for a wide range of industries from just about anywhere. Alif Yunus, TV3.
The Armed Forces Joint Task Force 2, ATB2, successfully foiled an attempt by a cargo ship to smuggle over 150,000 ringgit worth of diesel to the Philippines near Semporna, Sabah on Saturday. ATB2 Commander Brigadier General Abdul Karim Ahmad in a statement said that the team had also arrested 5 local men aged between 31 and 54 who were found on the cargo ship. The ship was first detected through the radar coastal surveillance system near Danawan Island, moving from Semporna to Bohayan Island, southwest of the Philippines, about 2:10 p.m. on Saturday. After detecting the cargo, the Joint Region Operations Center base in ATB2 base in Tawau then sent a team to intercept the cargo at 2:30 p.m. when the 70,000 litres of diesel, believed to be on its way to the Philippines, was discovered. The cargo ship was seized and its crew detained for possible violation of the Control of Supplies Act 1961. All the confiscated items, including the cargo ship amounting to 650,500 ringgit, have been handed over to the Maritime Enforcement Agency, while the suspects have been sent to the Semporna Police Headquarters. Moving on, the remand order on 2 men suspected of bribing a Tenaga Nasional Berhad officer to conceal their power theft activity for Bitcoin mining purposes in Negeri Sembilan has been extended for 2 more days. Special Remand Court Assistant Registrar Mas Azimin Ahmad allowed the application by the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission MACC to extend the remand order until March 8th to enable further investigation under the MACC Act. The 2 suspects, aged 49 and 50, who were self-employed, had earlier been remanded for 6 days beginning March 1st. It is understood that both the suspects had allegedly offered and gave 75,000 ringgit in bribes to the TNB officer in charge of the southern zone comprising Malacca, Johor and Negeri Sembilan from August last year to January this year. The amount was purportedly offered as an inducement to turn a blind eye on the electricity theft at several premises around Negeri Sembilan to carry out Bitcoin mining activities. The investigations under Section 17, Subsection B of the MACC Act 2009 carries a maximum 20 years jail and a fine of not less than 5 times the value of the gratification in question, or 10,000 ringgit, whichever is higher, if convicted. Russia's Putin calls on Ukraine to stop fighting. The details when we return. Welcome back to the Foreign Front. President Vladimir Putin warned Ukraine on Sunday that Russia's military operation would only be halted if Kyiv stopped resisting and fulfilled all of the Kremlin's demands. In a telephone conversation with Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan, he said Moscow was open to dialogue with the Ukrainian authorities, but Kyiv's negotiators should take a more constructive approach at talks with Moscow to take into account the reality on the ground. Attention was drawn to the futility of any attempts to drag out the negotiation process, which is being used by the Ukrainian security forces to regroup their forces and resources. Putin, whose comments were published in a Kremlin readout of the call, said his special operation in Ukraine was going according to plan and schedule. Russia, which invaded Ukraine on February 24th, calls its actions in its former Soviet neighbor a special operation that seeks to destroy Ukraine's military capabilities, purge the country of what it says are nationalists, and make it a neutral state. Meanwhile, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelinsky warned Sunday that Russian forces are preparing to shell Odessa, a historic port city on the Black Sea coast. Speaking during a video address, Zelinsky said the Kremlin will be committing a historical war crime as they get ready to choke Odessa off its lifeline.
Вони готуються бомбардувати Одесу. Одесу. Росіяни завжди приїжджали в Одесу, завжди відчували в Одесі тільки тепло, тільки щирість. А що тепер? Бомби проти Одеси, артилерія проти Одеси, ракети проти Одеси. Це буде воєнний злочин, це буде історичний злочин.
Russian forces have made progress in southern Ukraine since their invasion, overrunning the city of Kherson and besieging the port of Mariupol. But Odessa has so far been largely spared. Almost 1 million people live in Odessa, a cosmopolitan harbour on Ukraine's southern coast, with both Ukrainian and Russian speakers and Bulgarian and Jewish minorities. Meanwhile, all Malaysians, including students in Russia, are safe as the overall situation in the country is calm and peaceful. The Malaysian embassy in Moscow, in a statement, however, said some Malaysians may be facing difficulty in accessing timely banking and financial services, such as disruptions to electronic funds transfer or EFT from Malaysia to their accounts with certain banks in the Russian Federation. The statement said the Russian authorities have looked into the matter, as the Russian Central Bank has assured the public that the Russian currency continues to be readily available and accessible. The same institution has taken steps to ensure domestic liquidity is sufficient, enabling the general public easier access to hard cash. Malaysians who are still facing such EFT disruption or in need of consular assistance should contact the embassy through its dedicated email and hotlines. The embassy will remain in close contact with the relevant Russian authorities and will continue to advise Malaysians on further developments via its dedicated channels. The embassy also advised all Malaysians to remain calm and continue their routines as public services are running normally and essential goods and services remain available. A day for Muller to forget. Action from the German Bundesliga after this short break. Don't go away. Own goal of his professional football career, as leaders Bayern Munich were held to a 1-1 draw against third-place Bayer Leverkusen. Bayern looked set for an easy victory when they struck the opener in the 18th minute through Niklas Süller's first-time half-volley that beat goalkeeper Lukas Hradecky. Leverkusen, however, drew level in the 36th minute when Kerem Demirbay sent a free kick from the right wing into the Bayern's penalty area, and Thomas Muller stuck out a leg to clear the ball but ended up diverting it past his own goalkeeper Sven Ulreich. Both sides then pushed hard in search for a winner, but the 1-1 scoreline remained till the final whistle, forcing both to be satisfied with a share of points. The Julian Nagelsmann side are now 9 points clear of Borussia Dortmund in second, who have a game in hand on Bayern. As we wrap up Nightline this time around, let's take a look at hundreds of comics and anime fans gather in the United Arab Emirates capital over the weekend to attend the Middle East Film and Comic Con. The event saw artists, celebrities and cosplay fans come together in Abu Dhabi for the first time. With that, I'm Muhammed, Ahmad Hamdan. Thank you for watching and stay safe.